on the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round.
All right, welcome back. Episode 52 to Pints and Politics.
Yeah, man. Doing it. Ray Lewis episode.
Ray Lewis. Got to go hard in the paint now.
Man, I hated Ray Lewis as a player, man. Didn't you? Damn.
No,
Ravens.
I liked him.
Did you? Golly. I mean.
Most feared man to play.
Well, I don't know about that, but he took that.
I mean, he literally murdered someone. So. Well,
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay, I think he was clear to that. But he took that sort of.
He must have hired Todd Rutherford.
Oh, boy. I tell you what, he comes out hot these last few episodes. You know what I mean? But, yeah, Ray Lewis took that Miami, the U attitude to Baltimore. And, yeah, him and Ed Reed, man, laid the wood
Ed
for
Reed was
years.
great, yeah.
Over there in a great Baltimore Ravens defense and a Super Bowl.
Well, we got to talk about the South Carolina safety that killed it in the draft. We can do it a little bit later.
Oh,
But
yeah, number 7.
he just killed it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, 4.38, 40.
Yeah.
I know, man.
He was spotlighted everywhere.
I think he's going first round.
Oh, he should.
For sure.
With those statistics, that size, and running that low.
Look out, Clemson.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the state.
But today's beer, I mean, we got to go ahead and thank our sponsor.
Yep, that's right.
Comer Distributing. This is the Highland GAELIC Ale
beer. Yeah, it looks sort of reddish.
It's a darker beer, but
you know, like a Killian's Red.
We're in an Irish pub, so good. Not bad.
Good.
I thought
good
it would be heavier, but it's not.
Toasty,
It's
malty
good.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good beer, man. And it's what's the deal with the weather? Dude, it's
freezing here.
65 one day and then it's 45 the next day. But I tell you, man, it's just getting people sick.
It's called South Carolina.
It's either the flu kind of cold stuff or it's 65, 70 degrees for 2 or 3 days and we get pollen and then it's allergies. Yeah. So
it catches up with you
quick.
Yeah,
that's right. But yeah, so we're also drinking this Highland GAELIC Ale beer because we are at Rock Hill's neighborhood Irish pub.
Yes.
Thank you to Mark Murphy for letting us, hosting us, the Pints and Politics podcast. The Journeyman, it's a neighborhood tavern. And I like what he's done with the place, man. This is they're still doing the Legal Remedy beer where they're brewing it, but the restaurant is now called The Journeyman.
Yeah.
And Mark Murphy is the real deal Irish.
Yes, he came up and introduced himself.
Wait, come again?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, no, I like what he's done with the place. He's, divided up the room a little bit. It's not as loud. He's softened it with all these the flags.
You see a lot of soccer flags, or as they say, the football clubs.
Ole, ole. But yeah, again, thanks for Mark hosting us this week. We're going to do another one of these remotes out at Hoppin, Joe Gulledge, and
we need to get up to Lake Wiley and do one.
Why?
What?
I'm just teasing.
I'm going to put the H before the W. What?
Yeah. But, what we're trying to do is highlight local businesses while we're drinking a beer distributed by Comer. But we're also trying to highlight this big issue of liquor liability, which we will talk about and how it impacts our small businesses, right? And so we'll talk about that this episode. We're also going to talk about the bill that came out of your committee in LCI with the what we call the South Carolina Doge.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about that a little bit, but we just sort of highlighted it a little bit, but we actually passed it this past week. So we're going to talk about that
Senate
as well.
It goes.
And we're also going to, man, you were up in D.C. again.
Yes. Fun.
I tell you, man, you're becoming a resident.
Yeah.
You better be careful now. You got to wear them butt boots.
I'm starting to learn my way around.
All right. See, that's where you go wrong, man. You got to be careful.
Yeah. I learned whenever there was a mass, because with the State of the Union, everyone was down there, right?
Yeah.
And they put up fences where you couldn't get around as easy.
Yeah.
But you go into one of the buildings and it's a long line. Well, I had to go up to Ted Cruz's office, which is in the Russell building, and I was like, you know what? I'm going around to the back of the Dirkskin, going in there, then I'm going to go under the tunnels and cut through.
Yeah.
And able to navigate through while people are still waiting.
You hear that? See? He knows the back ways of the swamp.
I've made it, well, and it also helps Dustin Tant, who was my page down in
did you see his mom?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. His mom came up and was like, hey, I'm Dustin's mom. I'm like, no way. And I said, you saw him getting in trouble with Guffey.
But no, we every time I come down, I always reach out to him. We usually grab a bite to eat.
Yeah.
But
and for our 2 listeners, Dustin was a former page down at the State House, and now he has hit the big time.
He's in the whip's office in the Senate.
Nice.
So he, that's amazing. People say, oh, well, just print this out. It's like Airbnbs don't have printers in them. Like, where am I supposed to print this stuff out at?
Hey,
so
Dustin,
I'll call him. Hey, Dustin, can you print this out
right.
for me?
I can already see that going.
Hey, Dustin, I'm trying to get over here. I only got 15 minutes. Can you get me through security real quick?
Yeah, that's nice. Always good to have friends, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, we had a busy week in the house. Kicked it off with, again, a non-controversial. I think everybody's on board, even our Freedom Party folks, even Democrats.
We've had a lot of bills lately that have been unanimous.
I like this common sense approach to governing. It's like, hey, why don't we look into some of these regs? And I think this was an effort that was led by a lot of folks, right?
Yeah.
But Jeff Bradley.
Chairman Bradley, of course.
It's in his DNA.
Yes.
It's as he gets up, he's like, what reg can I cut today?
Yeah. That is the way that we do. And this bill, 3021, which is the Business Regulatory Freedom Act, the biggest thing is that it ends the outdated regulations right away. So we're talking about eliminating 25%, prevents unelected bureaucrats from creating new regs.
Yeah.
It strengthens all of the transparency and accountability within the regulations, puts citizens over bureaucracy and legal disputes. And then the interesting part is for every one reg that is introduced from here on out, you have to propose 2 that can be removed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who can't agree to that? We're going to eliminate 25%, and then we're going to sunset all regulations within 7 years. And if you bring a new one, you better bring 2 that can be wiped out.
Right. And I think Chris Wooten presented this bill on the floor this past week, did a really good job. He made a reference to the amount of regulations we have in the state and talked about how the original King James Bible, when it was written, all that stuff wasn't as thick as what we have as far as if you were to stack up all the regulations. So,
well, there wasn't but 10 commandments. So.
But yeah, he did a really good job with that. I like the aspect that if an agency wants to enact a new regulation, they first have to justify that they have the authority to do so.
Yeah.
They have to prove it, right? And so, so every time an agency or a director of an agency wants to create a new regulation, there's a process, a uniform process that now you have to go through, right? And it's stated out there. And so what I like is it doesn't matter who is on regs or who is in power, what party. It's a written down process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's consistent, it's universal, it's applied equally. And so it doesn't matter what your politics are. You got to show us that you have the authority first to do it. And then I just like the checklist sort of part about
just
that bill.
Simplifying everything. And this is, and the reason, I started calling it the Doge bill because what is more efficient in government than eliminating all of these regs? As we come in, whenever I came into office, you would hear about these stupid laws that are on the books that are really outdated.
But those are mostly for DNR.
Yeah, there's a lot of DNR. But, I remember there was one of those dumb laws that says whenever you go through an intersection, you must fire your rifle in the air. Well, that was back in the horse and carriage days,
right.
But now other regulations that state that you can't fire a firearm within a city limits, those trump it. Well, why don't we just get rid of that regulation to begin with?
Correct. Yeah,
instead of leaving them on the books.
And that's what we talked about in the last episode when we previewed this bill, was how a lot of regs that are just sitting on the books were just because they've been forgotten about.
Yeah.
Or they're not applied, and so they're old, let's just get rid of them.
Well, and we talk about, I think whenever I posted about regs, everyone was talking about, so we're going after environmental regs. That's the misconception.
Right.
Most of the regulations are not environmental. So I just pulled this up. There's regs within Clemson, higher ed, consumer affairs, education, employment
LMR.
Workforce,
environmental,
labor licensing regulation. Most of the ones we're dealing with is LLR. or DNR.
I would say a lot of times in regs, that's what we were dealing with in my subcommittee on the business subcommittee of regs.
We had a committee meeting last week, and one of the things that we were talking about, and this was for the property appraisers. And it was just the regulations on what type of education has to be, what you have to do to become licensed.
Right.
You know? And those are things that most of the people in the profession don't even have those qualifications, but yet they're trying to follow the federal guidelines. They're just grandfathered in.
And despite what you said that last episode, you got to have a crayon sharpener and...
No, I just said you'd have to learn how to work Zillow.
That's what it was. God.
A joke. I understand.
Yeah, sure.
I might have said that in the committee meeting.
No real estate appraisers are going to vote for you with that.
I know, that was horrible. But I was saying it as a joke.
No, we're poking fun for sure. But yeah, it was a good start to the week. And again, I know you were up in D.C. having a good old time playing hooky.
Yeah.
But your boy Chris Wooten out of the LCI did a really good job. And again, kudos to LCI, man. Chairman
LCI's
Bill
been great.
Herb Kurtzman is just bringing just a new perspective to that committee, new life, it seems like, because what was there, 9 or 10 new members because of the election?
Changeover, yeah. And not only that, I think LCI is a small subset example of what is happening that people are seeing within our state legislature this year. And that is, we are being very thorough and intentional in everything that we do.
Yeah.
We're getting through the committee process, and we are listening to the people who are testifying. And there's no one telling you this is what you got to do.
Right.
Like, that was the mindset whenever I first come in is, I guess leadership wants it this way, so this is what we're doing. No, it seems like every committee is on its own, and they are thoroughly vetting it. And by the time it gets to the floor, we don't have that big of a fight.
Right.
And that makes a difference.
Because, you're getting all the perspectives, you're getting all the stakeholders coming and testifying and giving, you guys as committee members all the information to make the best decisions that you can before it even gets to the floor.
And you're seeing committee members, whereas in the past, usually the chairman might argue if someone had a question or something.
Yeah.
But you're seeing the whole committee take offense whenever you spend so much time going through a bill and someone starts questioning it or putting out false information. So you're starting to see those committee members stand up and ask those questions like, well, wait a minute, I was sitting in there. You weren't.
Yeah.
What you're saying is false.
Well, and that's true. Kathy Landing did this on I've seen a few times now when there was a bill that came out of judiciary, the liquor liability one that we'll talk about here in the next segment. That's what she said. She got up and was like, hey, did you listen? Did you come to any of the subcommittee or the committee? Because this was all addressed then.
Yeah.
And I was
She's pointing out the falsehoods.
I was like, damn, Kathy.
Yeah.
But just really holding folks accountable. And I was like, there you go.
There's plenty of people that are getting fed up with the narrative.
Yeah, right.
That's getting put out there.
Yep.
They're willing to stand up.
And here's another thing, man. Like, you got to think, before we got there, 3M wasn't a functional committee. Right?
Because Democrats ran it, right?
Call it what you will. Troubling news. But again, you had, and this is why, I think fresh perspectives are great. When you have a new chairman in Chair Lady Celeste Davis taking over 3M, she brings a fresh perspective to a lot of the age-old challenges facing our veterans, facing our healthcare system, facing, our municipalities. Bill Herb Kurtzman comes into LCI. And again, I think y'all are literally 2 years behind what we experienced with 3M. But Bill, being a veteran, has already got that thing humming and taking on some issues that are important to the folks of South Carolina.
It's just the opposite of what I thought Bill Herb Kirschman would be. Because if you watch him present anything on the floor, it's always like, yeah, this bill does this. I move that you vote for it and then walk away. Like, right. No discussion whatsoever.
Yeah.
But in committee, everything is thorough.
Yes. Well, I think Bill is a guy of, he's not a skillful orator like Todd Rutherford, right? He leaves that to guys like Todd, but he puts in the work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He does the work. He does it in committee, he gets the best bill to the floor, and he goes, he summarizes the bills to sort of inform the body, move for passage.
Yes. And Chairman Herb Kirschman, so we've got a new ad hoc committee being set up. I've got ad hoc envy because I haven't been assigned as chair of an ad hoc committee yet.
So again, this is what I was going to sort of segue into about how, we're talking about breath of fresh air with Chair Lady Davis of 3M and Herb Kirschman with chairing LCI. I got both of them to agree to do an ad hoc on PBMs, and I was named chair this week of that. And then here we go. We get some ad hoc envy from Representative Gary Brewer. You know what I mean? He's not a leader, but he's a fast follower.
He is the only one with the construction experience in the house.
That's right. I was like, Gary, you're not in construction. You're like an engineering consultant.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm the construction guy. He's like, whatever. Whatever.
So, Chairman Herb Kirschman established this ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
Gary's going to be chairing it. I was assigned to it, and this is for insurance rate.
Okay.
To investigate insurance rate. So that way we can actually bring these insurance companies to the table.
Yep.
And we'll explain as we move into the next bill why that's important.
I tell you what, man. We are just hitting all the hot topics with the PBM ad hoc and the insurance rate ad hoc.
I think that we are proving, and I've said this many times before, I think our freshman class showed Merle's freshman leadership, speaker role, is the most conservative class in the history of South Carolina. Despite what anyone says.
Yeah, the most bluest
Just
red
look
state.
at the bills that we have passed.
Yeah, correct.
But in this class, we are showing that we can be the most efficient.
Yeah, I agree. I think this body, I think our freshman class and their impact, along with but there was also a good class right ahead of us too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think we talked about how, like the Travis Moores, the Case Brittons, and some of those guys were just a term ahead of us. And so I think there is a definite change in sort of how we do things, but I also think that's reflective of the speaker.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the speaker is a veteran lawmaker, has worked his way up, became speaker, and so he knows all the ins and outs. He knows the ropes. He knows the policy that we're talking about on most issues. And, I think he's bringing that to leadership and saying, hey, guys, look, we've got supermajority.
Yeah.
For the first time, we now have supermajority in the Senate.
And the speaker finally has his own staff,
you know what I mean?
too. It's not Jay's staff that kind of passed
again,
over,
so
too.
It's this fresh perspective at leadership in Speaker Merle Smith. It's a lot of fresh perspective in our chairs, that he has put in place. And, man, I think we're off to the races, man. I'm really enjoying the work.
It's been a lot of work.
100%.
I told my wife, I was like, I got a new committee assignment. She's like, dang, how much do they think you can do?
Well, I mean, and all the travel to D.C. Yeah. That's got to keep you busy.
Well, man, I'll tell you, I'm getting worn out with the travel. So we have our budget week coming up, and then I go to Berlin for a week, too. So it's been...
That's right.
I'm worn down.
Jeez,
but, you pray for the opportunity to be able to get the word out, and whenever the opportunities present itself, you have to take advantage of it to be able to get that word out.
Yep. So looking forward to continued work, especially coming out of LCI and these ad hoc committees as well.
I'm interested to the PBM debate.
This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties. All right, man. So we talked about the SC Doge bill that came out of LCI. Neither of us are on judiciary.
Right.
This one
session. Of our guests is.
That's right.
Here today.
David Martin is. Yeah. And and this happened pretty quick, this liquor liability conversation. Weston had started the bill a couple weeks ago, went through some subcommittees, heard some testimony, got it to full, and passed out. And because we have budget week next week, we were really trying to get liquor liability done and over to the Senate so we wouldn't get delayed another week or two, right?
Right.
And, and again, for the two listeners, there is a parliamentary trick that you can 24-hour a bill when it first comes up on the debated calendar and second reading. And thankfully, someone objected when it was tried to get a 24-hour delay on it. You got to waive the reading and then vote.
Right.
And because, again, there's more Republicans than anyone else, we were able to get it on. And, man, got that debate done. And in an interesting twist on this liquor liability legislation, Jay Jordan goes up to speak on the bill, and the entire Judiciary Committee goes and stands up with him at the well.
I know.
Which was I've never seen that
Shows
before.
unity.
Yeah. I mean, because this liquor liability has become such an issue for our small businesses, our bars and our restaurants, VFWs, nonprofits that try to might have event type liquor sales for like galas and stuff like that. But it's become such a pressing issue that this passed out of the Judiciary Committee in the House unanimously.
Well, and we had the same thing last year. Well, not the exact same bill, but the basis of the bill that we just passed came up last year, and I was on Judiciary. And I think myself and maybe Senator Lieber were the only two that really objected to it. But whenever it come time to vote for it, it was myself and Ray Felder were the only two people in the entire House to vote against it. But they addressed those issues that I had with it last year.
And this was, and I joked around because the ad hoc Liquor Liability Committee, I think that now Senator Jason Elliott was chairing for the House back then when he was representative. I joked around like this is the Obamacare for bars. You know? Because we didn't do a lot of what this bill addressed in what we just passed yesterday is a better bill, right? And
100%.
And we'll dig into that. But so for the two listeners, let me just go ahead and summarize what we passed, and then we'll get into the weeds on it. So House Bill 3497 removes strict liability for alcohol-serving establishments and shifts to a comparative negligence standard, and that can be found in Section 6. It strengthens DUI laws by increasing penalties, mandating victim impact panels, and lengthening license suspension. Liquor liability insurance requirements are expanded, but risk mitigation programs offer discounts for compliance. A new mandatory alcohol server training program is established, and it prohibits alcohol sales to intoxicated patrons. That's the knowingly language that got put into this year's bill. Also, nonprofits, including our VFWs, receive a major benefit. Their liquor liability insurance requirement is reduced by half. So bars and restaurants have to carry a minimum $1 million coverage, and these nonprofits have to carry half of that, $500,000.
Correct.
And that's lowering the financial burden compared to standard bars. So a lot to unpack there. The removal of the strict liability and the adoption of the comparative negligence was a big one.
I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons that I supported it.
Yeah, 100%. And for our two listeners, what did I just say? In English, it's establishments serving alcohol are no longer strictly liable for damages caused by intoxicated or drunk patrons. Instead, comparative negligence applies, allowing fault to be apportioned. However, businesses cannot reduce liability if their conduct was willful, reckless, grossly negligent, or involved with illegal alcohol or drug use.
And gross negligence that is a huge bar.
That's a high standard.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that goes to, the hypotheticals that we always used to hear was someone who would have a beer or two at your establishment and then go to my establishment and I just served him 18 Jack and Cokes. Yeah. He goes out on the road and kills somebody, but because I know I served him 18 Jack and Cokes, I'm going to settle and let him max out my $1 million policy. Well, you're like, I served him like a beer.
Yeah.
Like 8 hours before he actually got into the wreck. So you're like, no, I'll take you to trial. Well, the jury doesn't know.
Because it has to be
my
kept
contribution.
quiet.
Yeah, that's right. Because I might be a tortfeasor, but I'm not the defendant, so I cannot be brought into. Right? And so the jury doesn't even know about me, but all they know about is you, and so like, well, you must be 100% liable. And so, that's the legality.
And we've gotten away from personal responsibility on these things.
Oh,
but a lot
God.
of it was because if you were more than 1% responsible, you could be held 100%.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
with this language, now you have to be at least 51% responsible before you can really be sued.
Yeah, you got to be you got to bear the majority of the responsibility. Yeah. So another one that was big was the stricter DUI penalties.
Yeah, I mean,
and suspending licenses.
We're number 3 in the country on DUI deaths.
Yeah.
So we've got to increase our DUI laws.
Yep.
We've done it with the breathalyzers, but you often hear about, in order to get out of DUI, all you got to do is really hire a good attorney.
Yeah.
There's so many rules and everything else that, that's right. This gives stricter penalties on it.
Yep, and it sort of reclassified some things when it comes to DUI charges, where there's a new felony DUI category in the second degree, so that allows prosecutors to pursue a second degree charge, and that's up to 10 years in prison. First degree is up to 25. They've also, I think, increased the financial penalties. So that was a big one.
Well, and I know Joe White had an amendment, and he was trying to say that you got to carry, after one DUI, you got to carry $250,000 of liability. Well, your insurance is already going up 4 or 5 times.
Do we still
what
do
it
SR22
was.
insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're already going to be on SR22. Now you're talking about multiplying it.
Yeah.
To just these massive levels.
And again, I think,
but it shows the thoughtfulness that went into this bill, because as the questions were asked, even some of those members voted against their own amendment as they proposed it, because the questions were answered while they were on the floor.
Right. And that was an interesting twist to that whole debate, because I actually sort of liked Joe's amendment, right? Because I'm all for strict penalties for DUI. I mean, I'm sick of hearing about the tragic stories like we heard with the newlywed couple who was on the back of a golf cart in Folly Beach, and a drunk driver who'd been drinking all day just totally is speeding, under the influence, and kills a bride that had just been married a few hours before.
Right.
And I'm tired of that.
And you only have to have $25,000 as an individual.
Yeah.
On personal automobile.
Yeah, and so I was actually in favor of Joe White's amendment. I appreciated that Representative Gil Gatch, him being the attorney, pointed out in sort of the Q&A with Representative White, hey, I think I know what your intent is, and he went through the legal language that we had to change in the amendment. He says, if you change that, and I'll help you, let's get it back up. And man, that was unfortunate, because I would have voted for that amendment and to raise the limits. But
that would have been a huge detriment to so many people in South Carolina.
Just for the two listeners, the ones who get a DUI. Yeah, right. It's called accountability. Don't drink and drive, folks. But again, I was for it. But this is what happened. So Joe, Joe came in with us. He's a second termer, and he was like, and you go back and look at this video. He was like, Mr. Speaker, I'm good to change it. Go ahead and change the amendment. Mr. Gatch, I'll agree to your language. I actually went up to the well and said, Joe, you can't do that. And he was like, well, I'll change it however we need to change it.
Yeah.
And I was like, either you can table your own amendment and then resubmit it, or withdraw your amendment and then resubmit the new language. Well, as he's trying to do that, there's no more amendments on the floor. Now, so Representative White is of the Freedom Party. Jordan Pace, the chair of the Freedom Party, was right there at the dais. And I thought, once all the amendments are done, and I didn't know that was the last amendment, I assumed that Jordan or someone from the Freedom Party would just go up and start, singing a song. Right?
Let's talk about the bill.
Yeah, you could go up there and just speak on the bill. As long as he kept it germane, he could have sat up there and just wasted time while Joe and Gil worked together to get it written. And I don't think that I just don't think they caught it. And the vote was called. And so we never got to actually vote on the amendment, which I was like, damn it.
Well, that's what leadership's for, though.
Well, and me and Hamilton Grant were even like, man, you're going to do the man like that? Just joking around. But again, you don't see this on camera. The speaker calls Mr. White. He called Joe up
to try and tell them
and tried to explain, like, what happened, and I think they were trying to find a solution. And so I'll be interested. Well, no,
we can get it over to the Senate.
Yeah, right.
Get the language over to the Senate.
Yep, but
and get it changed. And you had Jay Kilmartin and Josiah give an amendment, which I questioned quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the amendment was, I think it was just purely a misunderstanding, stating that all restaurants and bars must participate in this program that could cost up to $500.
Yep.
It isn't that. It's the person who's teaching it. But I'm thankful. As I was trying to question Josiah, time ran out. Ended up bringing him back in the back room. We were able to talk about it a little bit.
Right.
And then I was able to question Jay as well.
Yeah.
And I think they both realized, and they ended up moving to table the amendment, and then voted to table their own amendment. So that was good.
And to be fair to all representatives who were in that debate yesterday, only the Judiciary Committee was probably well versed on this bill, right? Because we didn't anticipate it getting through as quickly as it did to come to the floor, and then once it was on the floor, we probably thought it was going to be 24 hours, right? But then we're like, no, we got budget. We got a hard stop, so let's go ahead and try to get it over to the Senate, because the Senate is taking up tort reform.
They've only been like 3 days.
And we'll talk about what happened in the Senate in the next segment with our guest, Sen Wes Climer, to fill us all in on what happened over there. But so let's talk about the other sections of this was of the liquor liability insurance bill that came out of the House yesterday. Was we talked about the requirements and then some of the discounts and incentives that are offered in the bill. I'm not crazy about this section.
I don't like it at all.
Because this is what the Obamacare for bars came from.
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, the Obamacare for bars, they were trying to set up a fund for all of these bars to pay into. Yeah. Kind of like how our co-op works.
And then the old bill was that failed last year. Or maybe, no, I think we passed it. But you and I did not support it. Oh, I got a bone to pick with you.
I did. You didn't. Or you supported it. I didn't.
No.
Me and Ray Felder were the only two no's.
No, I did not support it.
Well, you didn't vote then.
I wasn't there. I was sick. It was in the same week.
Well, me and Ray were the only two no votes.
I was the guy texting y'all, this is the Obamacare for bars. But that's why I joked around with you. I texted you. I was like, damn it, Guff. You keep claiming you're the one-of-a-kind person.
Well, I was the only one that's sitting in that chamber that voted against it.
I joked. This is all tongue-in-cheek for the two listeners. I joked around with you. I was like, what are you, Gary Brewer now?
I'm the only one with construction experience.
I'm the only one. But anyway, back to this bill.
Who looks more like a construction worker, me or Gary Brewer? Let's be honest.
So yeah, there's alcohol training that incentivizes some lower
that businesses can take advantage of to help lower their
using technology to scan IDs to make sure you don't have underage with fake IDs like you and I grew up probably using. And also another portion I did want to mention, and this one was offered by our very own rookie Representative David Martin. Kind of proud of him here. The annual reporting on liquor liability insurance rates to our Department of Insurance.
Right.
So now our Department of Insurance can start getting data on the markets, right? So all in all, I thought it was a strong bill. We'll see what the Senate does.
He had to do something to appease us. He went against us on judges and school choice. So I'm just kidding. That was all David, but yeah. And again, David's a smart guy.
Again, in fairness, look, when you got the best schools in the state, would you want to change anything?
I understand it. Yeah.
So yeah, look, the House did, I thought, great work this week. We were productive, and look, you and I are the first to say, like, man, it was a shit show in the House this week because all the shenanigans and the circus.
Next week we'll be saying that.
But this week, man, I thought we showed
there's been flashes of that
we're the adults in the room. Yeah. And all the while the Senate's over there, chasing tails.
Yeah. But I think that we have had glimpses of that. Everyone wants to say, why can't we get along and work together on bills?
Yeah.
Between the Republican caucus, Freedom Caucus, and Democrats, right? You have saw these glimpses of us working together like we have this week.
Yeah.
And answering questions and not avoiding each other, not trying to bash each other. Our groups aren't sending out text messages against each other. And if we can take that same approach, imagine how productive we can be.
Oh, I think it's just getting started for real. So yeah, another great win for
for
the
everyone in
House.
South Carolina.
And again, thankful to Chairman Weston Newton and Jay Jordan and all of those folks on Judiciary.
Yes.
Like I said, it was unanimous coming out of that committee. And I thought that sent a message. Like, literally, I was like, what are we doing? I thought we were like, it was adjourned in memory of type thing. And lo and behold, it's a liquor liability legislation that's uniting the whole chamber. It was unanimous. 109
Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. So
and Chairman Newton walking by, I was walking by, and he's like, Guffey. And he calls me over. Anytime Chairman says, get over here, you're like, oh Lord, what did I do?
And Weston's got a style about him, He's kind of abrupt and really smart
He's very
guy.
direct, but he's super intelligent.
Yes.
And then when you say something, he's like, whoa, that's just not true. Let me tell you. So, but he brought me in the back, and he was like, look, you voted against this last year. And I was like, which one was this? And I even said, was this the Obamacare for bars? He was like, there's no Obamacare for bars.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is why I voted against it. And he's like, okay, well, we've addressed that. Here's the section that addressed it. And I was like, oh, I'm on board then. Yeah. As long as you fix that 1% to 51%, that was the biggest thing. I still don't like, the close at this time, your rates,
Stop serving alcohol at this time.
Yeah.
And I don't either. I'd rather
But it gives them the choice.
I'd rather just say, hey, why don't we cut it to 500,000? And that's it. No conditions, right? Good businesses, and this is just me. Look, in my business in construction, we could have done things the old way, right? We could have done things the way the older generation did them. But we knew in order to compete, and not only compete, but then thrive in construction, we had to adapt to markets. We had to start increasing pay. We had to start being the leader in pay for our people. And guess what? When we started being able to compete and get the best people, we started producing a better product.
Right.
And the better product beget more business. And so I think some of those incentives get a little, but let's see what the Senate can do over there, and then let's get it to conference. Because at the end of the day, our small businesses, our bars and restaurants, our neighborhood taverns like the one we're in right now, has told us repeatedly we need help.
Yeah,
and it's been going on too long. So kudos to...
And as I always say, I never meet a broke attorney, never meet a broke insurance guy, but I meet plenty of broke small business owners.
Right. So,
and this doesn't solve all the problems.
No.
We still got the problem with contractors.
Yeah.
Whenever you're going after
trucking,
big developers.
Yep.
So that's the reason for the ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
And
But,
we will continue to review.
That's right. But you always hear, Gary Summerall is famous for saying, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good."
Yeah.
Right. And today was a good day when it comes to small businesses, our bars and restaurants, with us passing that liquor liability law.
Agreed. And are we going to talk about weekend review? Before you get Senator Climer on, and I'll hop up and just let Senator Climer sit here in my seat.
That's just because you want to drink another beer.
Huh?
That's just because you want to drink another beer.
I want a cigarette. That's what it is. I can't smoke in here. It's not the outside, the back porch,
That's right. That's right. But yeah, let's talk about the DC trip. You did have a great roundtable.
Yes.
With First Lady.
So I was able to fly. I flew in Sunday night, got in Monday, went up and met with Senator Cruz's office, immediately brought down to the congressional chamber, to which the First Lady came in.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of, there's maybe 5 of us in the room waiting to meet with her, but she walks in, and I want to honestly say, like, every picture you've ever seen, very rarely do you see someone that's like prettier in person than actual pictures.
Right.
But just exudes class as she walked in. I didn't know how the conversation was. I joke around, Trevor within the Republican caucus told me, Guffey, make sure you compliment her shoes. Don't compliment anything else. You'll come off as a creep. And so whenever I walked up, the first thing I was thinking was, hey, I like your shoes.
Yeah.
And they were nice shoes. So it was an honest compliment. And as soon as I said it, she just said, thank you. And she said...
No. You know what the First Lady was thinking, right? Like, have y'all seen Brandon Guffey? If you don't, she'd be like, what the hell does he know about women's shoes, for one thing? You know what she's thinking? She's like, his wife told him to say that.
Yeah. Either way.
Whatever.
But, I told her the nice shoes. And then she said that Gavin's story was one of the reasons that she made this her first priority of this administration.
That's cool, man.
And that just kind of teared me up. And then as she's talking, you got other people waiting to meet with her, so I kept trying to walk off. She'd grab me back and have a conversation. But I was very impressed because, with different nationalities and everything, some people come off like direct and rude at times.
Oh, right.
Things of that nature. As she was talking, she was direct, compassionate. Like it was just perfect. It was exude leadership.
Yeah.
That was the best way to explain it, and the way that she approached it. And then we walked out of there and sat down, did a 1-hour roundtable with Senator Cruz, Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Scalise.
And now, was this all in regards to, because I know the federal legislation that you had talked about before with Senator Cruz had to take it down?
Yes, this is the Take It Down Act.
Okay.
So if any images, real or fake, are put up using your name, image, and likeness, you can demand that they are taken down from a website if they are inappropriate within 48 hours.
Okay.
Right? So this holds those companies responsible to have, and it's not just social media, this is websites in general.
Okay.
Because you have people create these deep fake pornographic videos and upload them on OnlyFans. So this gives a little bit more teeth to be able to get those images taken down and taken down right away. Now we're starting to get a little bit of pushback because of the State of the Union. President Trump, whenever he was introducing Allison Berry, who's one of the teenagers, that a classmate used a deep fake nude photo and shared it. And she was just one, we had another teenager there as well, but she's the one that the First Lady and the President recognized during the State of the Union. But this will allow them to get those taken down right away, which is a step. It's one step in the fight. And so that was one of the things we talked about during the hearing.
And these websites and these social media platforms have 48 hours,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Once reported.
Or face
penalties from there.
Okay.
But the penalties are going to be from the government. It's not, we're still not able to open up and sue them because of Section 230. We've got to repeal that. Like I said, this is one step. But in fairness, in Gavin's situation, if he knew that these companies would have to have these images scrubbed within 48 hours, would that have given him hope?
Right.
And that's the message that we're trying to send.
Yeah.
That these images, real or fake, get put out about you, damaging your reputation.
Right.
But whenever Trump said, I've had some images put out about me, we're going to have them taken down, that's whenever you started getting the left fighting against it. And,
Or at least that's their excuse anyway.
Yeah. That's become the excuse. But as we saw, if you can't stand for a kid with brain cancer during the State of the Union, I mean, honestly, you're just a piece of shit, period.
While we're talking about the State of the Union, that was one of the most troubling things was, again, and it goes for both sides, right? There's a little bit of vitriol. I mean, I think Joe Wilson, our very own congressman from South Carolina.
He was the first to break the decorum.
When he said the "you lie" thing, man, he got a rash of stuff.
He's still known of you lie.
And now it's sort of commonplace to but I just didn't understand when President Trump was introducing the kid with brain cancer and his recovery and those types of things.
Introducing Allison Berry, teenager that's extorted.
And you know what? And Trump, I think, addressed it. And he said, look, I could say that we're going to cure cancer, and this side of the room over here is not going to get up. And I just don't understand the strategy, and we can talk about that on another episode. I don't understand the strategy of the National Democratic Party by doing that, because it seems to me they're getting further and further away from normal common sense voters. And the more extreme they're going to go, I think they're going to keep losing. Traditionally, midterm elections swing back a little. But if they proceed down this path, and again, to our benefit, and hopefully the country's benefit, we're going to get more common sense. And
they
they're going to lose more
could have
seats.
stayed sitting during the Elon Musk introduction.
100%.
But stood up for the kid.
Yeah.
Or
several others.
Or one of the parents.
Yep.
Or the spouse of the firefighter who lost his life. And, those were some of the things that were disturbing. And while I was only supposed to be down there to meet the First Lady, I ended up getting a call from Senator Graham's office, which I have worked with a lot for the kids' online safety as well. But they offered me a ticket to attend the Senate State of the Union dinner. So prior to the State of the Union, all the senators go in and we're able to sit down, which that was very nice. Every senator has one guest. Some are family members, some were some of their biggest donors, but we're all sitting in there and it's kind of everyone bouncing around. So I was able to sit down, have dinner with Senator Graham, a couple other senators. One of the people that I met, I kept thinking, oh man, I got to remember his name. But he is the, I guess, founder of Yellowwood out of Alabama. So he was one of the big donors for the senators out of Alabama.
Gotcha.
And having a conversation.
What was his name?
I have no clue.
Man. He even mental noted, I got to remember this guy's name.
But he was wearing an Auburn championship ring. He played football at Auburn.
Oh, really?
So I was able to talk to him, but that was actually one of the coach's rings that was given to him after the coach passed away.
Man.
That he was wearing, and it was a great conversation. I just cannot remember names.
Don't worry.
The names get confused.
You can Google them.
Yeah. So, but thank you
awesome.
to Senator Graham, Senator Cruz, their staff.
So was that Senate dinner, was that sort of on campus, so to speak? Was
that was in Congress right before the State of the Union.
Okay. I didn't know if it was at a country club or what.
No, I think it's the old Senate chamber.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I mean, you and I are not accustomed to country clubs, while our neighbor to the north, David Martin, he lives at a country club.
The only time I go to a country club is whenever you or Wes have an extra ticket to some fundraiser. I've never been asked to join a country club.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we don't want your kind here.
All right, so in this segment, we got special guests, our one and only Senator.
Good to be back.
Wes Climer.
Thanks for the invite. I listen to you guys all the time, and just wish I could get them more often.
Well, the IQ of the podcast just got elevated by about 25 points. We have a senator.
You need a better calculator.
So wanted to have you on because we had an interesting week in the House.
Yeah.
We're passing regulatory reform. We passed the liquor liability bill just yesterday.
Yeah.
And at the same time, y'all been dealing with this tort reform, Senate Bill 244, for the past what?
Started on Tuesday.
Okay.
It was set to special order the prior third. Special order means it moves to the front of the line.
Okay.
So the Senate, this is wild. The Senate debated this bill Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so far there has been one vote on one amendment.
Oh, wow, man.
So it's been 3 straight days of listening to all the lawyers try to out-hypothetical each other, which has been it is a brutal debate to listen to.
I did listen to some of those, and I was like, how are they coming up with this stuff?
But, they come up with the most exotic, hypotheticals, trying to
trying to make it the best bill possible.
One up each other,
So, and it seems like it's been longer because it's been in the public arena for a few weeks now, because I think our very own Michael Johnson was chair of that subcommittee.
He did, yeah. Senator Johnson chaired this subcommittee.
So they had a lot of testimony, did a lot of committee work, went to full committee, and then it finally came out on the floor. So I was going to say, I thought y'all been working on it for a few weeks, but I guess, on the floor, it literally has only been just a few days.
If you ask Johnson, he'd probably tell you he's given his whole life to this. he definitely drew the tougher assignment in this thing.
And this issue, y'all's bill touches a lot, right? It touches construction, it touches healthcare, it touches the liquor liability issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is literally an omnibus tort reform effort.
It is tort reform.
I think Senator Massey has had this issue for, a few terms now that he's been trying to tackle. And with a new Senate, theoretically, maybe the path to success was greater this term.
Yeah, so there are 34 Republicans now, 12 Democrats. So I think the thesis, if you're in Massey's telling, is that there are more votes for it now than there were last year when a similar effort was made to do tort reform, but it sort of fell apart. It just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, the dividing line. There are a lot of dividing lines in the legislature, right? There's the old guy versus new guy divide. There's, of course, the Republican versus Democrat divide. And then, often a pretty pronounced divide in the General Assembly is attorney, non-attorney.
Yeah, right.
And so the attorney, non-attorney divide is really playing itself out right now in the Senate.
And as I asked my buddy Cody Mitchell, who is a lawyer legislator, he's an attorney. What he says, it's the smart guys, and then everybody else. Right?
Was that how Cody? Which one did he put himself in? No, Cody, great.
Yet to be determined. But yeah, no kidding. But yeah. So this past week, y'all had a lot of debate. Y'all were, as we're breaking around 5 or whenever it was, I'm high-fiving you in the cookie room because y'all are basically planning your dinner plans in the chamber, right?
Right. Yeah. Had ate a lot of meals in the antechamber this week.
That's
sure.
Right.
For sure.
So for the two listeners, tell folks what you experienced that last day, because it was a surprising turn of events, I thought, because I was actually in the Black Building working on some work, had the TV on. Something happened with a tabling amendment. It didn't go, I think, the way Massey wanted it to go, and then just pretty much an abrupt adjournment.
Yeah, if I may,
yes.
Can I back up and sort of go kind of big picture on the debate? On the one side, you have most of the South Carolina economy, bars and restaurants, manufacturers, retailers, truckers, folks in the construction industry, engineers. Most of South Carolina's economy supports tort reform, and on the other side, you have the attorneys who engage in lawsuit, torts. All right, and so both sides have done, I think, frankly, a disservice to the people of South Carolina in the way that they have tried to make this turned a very complex issue into a tweet, right? And so, the trial lawyers want it to be about insurance companies, and everybody else wants to make it about greedy attorneys. And I try to think about this not like insurance companies or lawyers, but two South Carolinians, Citizen A, Citizen B, and two bank accounts, right? If Citizen A causes an injury to Citizen B, what is a fair way to adjudicate that dispute?
Yeah.
Right, and I've tried, because I'm not an attorney, a business guy.
Correct.
All of these hypotheticals the attorneys make do more to confuse than they do to clarify.
Correct.
And so the question in my mind is, what is fair? If it's, if I'm suing you or you're suing me and we're just two South Carolinians going to court, what is a fair system of dealing with an injury or damages? And the reason we have this system of civil justice is so that we don't take matters into our own hands with baseball bats and all that. That's sort of, when you look at the common law, it came out from...
Yeah, right. You run over my mailbox, I'm taking out your mailbox.
Right. And so they used to just go club each other, but now we have this, they have this court system instead, right? So the question is what is fair? And different people have very, very different views on what is fair. And one side's trying to make it more fair to itself, and the other side's trying to make it more fair to itself, right? Yeah. It's sort of the nature of a lot of the fights in Columbia. Yeah. And what ultimately has to happen, as is often the case with a complicated issue like this, is that there's going to have to be a compromise that nobody loves and everybody can live with.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So then... that's sort of the 40,000-foot view. And then on the procedure of what happened on Thursday, so Senator Goldfinch from Georgetown offered an amendment that, in the telling of Senator Massey, who is the primary sponsor of the bill, Senator Goldfinch's amendment would fundamentally gut the bill.
Okay.
And some debate ensued around why you should vote for it, why you should vote against it. Mm-hmm. Senator Massey made a motion to table, and I believe it was 26-19.
Yeah.
The motion to table failed 26-19. So when a motion to table fails, all that means is the amendment is still a live matter.
Right.
You typically go straight into a vote on the amendment, but you don't have to. And so right after the motion to table failed, Senator Massey went to the well of the Senate, reclaimed the microphone, and moved to adjourn.
Yeah.
Now, in that, I think a lot of people who are paying very close attention to this debate misread the failed motion to table vote. Because among those who voted against tabling are several senators who didn't want to table it because they just wanted to hear more debate. They weren't sure how they wanted to vote on the amendment. They felt like the arguments hadn't been completely aired.
Right.
And so, a number of those in the 26 who voted against tabling really are for the bill and for substantive tort reform. They
also for further debate.
For further debate.
Yeah.
And so, some I think have misread that vote as an indication that the Senate is not going to pass a sweeping tort reform bill. I mean, maybe. I mean, ultimately that could be the case.
Right.
But I don't read that vote that way. I read that vote as a desire to hear more debate on the part of some who didn't want to table it, and then more importantly, some of the guys who voted to table were attempting to send a message to the majority leader that it's time for him to be more sincere about negotiating towards a compromise, because this has gone on too long and the two sides need to hurry up and get together and compromise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I was surprised that what transpired the way it did yesterday. I was literally like, what just happened? Because, I mean, Senator Massey's own words were, this decision to not table is now going to cause small businesses to close.
Yeah.
And he said it's over, adjourn. And, he was probably just spur of the moment upset with what had transpired. Look forward to seeing what y'all do next week, especially on the heels of what the House just did.
Yeah.
In passing, just liquor liability.
Correct. Yeah.
And people always ask me, we've talked about liquor liability a lot. That is a lot of what gets sort of the articles written about it. That's the juice.
Sure. Yeah.
Of
No.
the squeeze.
It is a grave problem. It is a serious problem that has to get solved.
Yeah.
Very soon. I mean, bars and restaurants are going out of business. I got a text from, she probably don't want me to say her name or her business, but somebody who owns a bar in Rock Hill last week, and she described to me the increase in the cost of her, insurance premiums, and they went from I could pull up the text, but roughly like $1,200 a month to $5,400 a month year over year, and she has a small restaurant and. She can't afford it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right, she can't. It's either you guys got to fix this issue, or I'm going out of business.
Yeah.
Right, but my hope is that we can solve the problem of a flawed tort system, not just for bars and restaurants, but also for truckers and retailers and manufacturers and engineers and the entire rest of the economy.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm all for tort reform. One thing I have learned, though, is, a lot of times the bill's got to have a singular focus and get after whether it's whatever the issue is with Brown v. that Tiffany decision, the Smith trucking.
You sound like one of the attorneys who are like, they're all out there citing court cases and all of these.
Go read that decision.
The Tiffany decision came up a lot.
Was just insane that a parked truck that was disabled because of lack of, it couldn't run. It was parked there, had nothing to do with the accident that ensued by two others.
Yeah.
But because the person who was actually at fault settles, a litigious attorney goes, hey, you know what? That's a commercial vehicle.
Right.
They have a bigger insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Let's sue them.
Right.
Like the truck was no part, this commercial truck was no part of the wreck whatsoever at all. It was parked along the side of the road, and any good attorney will tell you they will pull out what they call the MUTCD, the manual, it's like the Uniform Traffic Code.
Yeah.
And if you have a stalled vehicle, there is a way that you have to mark it with triangles and all those types of things. And if if you're one iota wrong, leaves yourself open to a litigious lawsuit.
Yeah, and potentially millions in damages. And I think ultimately what I hope, I mean, certainly what I want, I hope what everybody wants is you want a system of justice where people who are injured get just compensation.
Yep.
And those who caused the injury pay for the injury they caused.
That's right.
But they don't have to pay for somebody else's.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. It's this thing of lumping the bad actors with the good.
Right.
In order to, mitigate or spread risk.
Sure. Yeah.
And so yeah, you see it in healthcare, you see it in all kinds of insurance. So,
Sure.
And in effect, it raises all of our premiums. So the good actors are paying for the bad actors.
Right.
So
in the form of higher costs for consumers, lower wages for workers. I mean, the tort tax, the cost of a flawed tort system is not obvious to everybody, but everybody pays it.
100%. So, well, I don't know. Is your agenda up for next week? Has it been published? What y'all are going to be taking up?
So when the Senate adjourns on a bill, that's called interrupted debate.
Okay.
So when the Senate adjourns an interrupted debate, then the first thing that happens after we say the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance is that bill is up for debate again.
Okay.
Right?
So back at it on Tuesday.
Back at it again. Now, there could be a motion to carry over the bill, but we'll see what happens. But probably that bill is the first thing up and the only thing up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And I really do hope over the weekend that some progress can be made on a sensible compromise.
Yeah, you got to figure the switchboard is busy right now with a lot of calls back and forth with Senate leadership and senators trying to see.
Yeah, I think everybody engaged in this has been on the phone all day.
Yeah. Wow. Well, good luck, man.
Yeah.
We'll be there Monday starting budget.
Man, y'all are doing the budget this?
Yeah. So we'll keep the place warm for you and welcome y'all back. What time
y'all just leave your dinner crumbs on your side of that.
All right. Well, Senator Wes Climer, thanks for joining us.
Representative Sessions, always a delight. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the conversation.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. It was a great episode.
Yeah.
Here at the Journeyman in Rock Hill.
Packed place.
Yeah. Neighborhood Irish pub.
I was thinking that we would be able to do like a Q&A, like live on the podcast, but it's way too loud in here to be able to pick any of that up.
Yeah, I think more one-on-one, like what's going on right next door. We were just talking to a guy who had some school choice questions, had some law enforcement questions, and
I see Matt Villardo over there, who was the liar that ran against David Martin.
Damn. Tell me how you really feel.
No, I mean, honestly, like I posted a video showing every lie that he put out there. No question about that. So now I've become his nemesis. So I'll go over there and talk to him.
So a misunderstanding.
No, he's a liar. No misunderstanding.
Troubling news.
LIAR.
Well, it was great. Thanks again to Wes Climer.
Yes.
Our senator here. He came to visit us and give us the experience that they had with their tort reform and what was going on over there.
I think Wes is a good mixture, and we're all friends, but I think Wes is a good mixture of our personalities. He can be that bull in the china shop, and he can be very polished with the troubling news aspect of it as well.
Right.
But I think we all fight for the same things, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, man, we all got our own styles.
Yeah,
that's good. You got that Colin McGregor, thing going, and
mixed with that Hank Williams. Hey, y'all.
But let's talk about. So did a lot in the House, got a lot over in the Senate as far as drama going on. Next week,
yes,
Senate. We'll see what they do with their tort reform bill. We've got to look forward to budget.
Are we going to release this podcast on Sunday since we come into session on Monday? That would be the kicker.
That'd be a question for
Come
our
on,
producer.
Tato.
Is he going to get paid overtime to work on Saturdays?
We need more sponsors, by the way, to be able to put the work on Tato. And we also got the Horton and Seamus podcast. Should be coming out sometime today.
Great. Great.
Some of the clips have been fun.
Yeah, look
to
forward
watch.
to sharing that one.
Yeah.
I tell you, those guys are going to be.
I think Jason Seamus is thinking, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, so.
Kind of like you were for the first few episodes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, all those strange noises you heard was me falling with my head hitting the tabletop as I'm hitting the floor.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you would say, but I think now I've just become conditioned to it, you know?
Well, I think what's important is for people to know their representatives, senators' hearts.
Yeah.
And where they stand.
Yeah.
And I think just being genuine.
Yeah. 100%.
And not trying to be the polished person that says,
nah,
I'm going to give you a polished answer every time. I'm going to tell you exactly about something. Someone comes to me about a bill and I'm like, I don't know, I ain't read it yet.
Yeah.
Like,
correct.
it's not my committee. I haven't focused on it. These are my focuses.
I actually just had a conversation with someone in the district. He asked
Yeah.
me about a bill, and I said, hey, look, I've had a cursory review of that bill. I had a conference call about it. And I said, but I haven't dug into the language, which I think is going to be important. So I think the intent of the bill is good, but is the pragmatic or how it's going to be applied in the environment of which it's going to be applied in,
Right.
is that what the intention of the bill? So, and is that an overall good thing? So,
Well, with budget coming up this week,
yeah,
we're going to have, I'm already hearing over 100 amendments being put in with the budget.
There you
the
go.
most important thing to realize about the budget, the narrative is going to get spun that we are wasting taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And under no circumstance, anything that comes up, and this being the first budget, doesn't even really deal with appropriations. This is about funding the government agencies.
yeah,
And as we deal with it, what we're going to see is every opportunity that the Freedom Caucus people have to pull something back, they're going to try to say, like Thomas Beach did last year, oh, I want to help these foster parents. And there's no research done in it. No amendments have been requested during committee. This is campaign season for the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's the first budget.
Hey, how much you want to bet that we're going to get a lot of video clips get posted by the Freedom Party members on their personal Facebook, on their campaign websites and their Facebook pages?
I can't wait to see the American Action Fund text messages.
Folks, we call it budget week. Sometimes I think the Freedom Party calls it casting season.
Yeah.
You know? And so look,
Everyone trying to go viral like Adam Morgan did.
we're going to pass a balanced conservative budget that invests in the priorities of the state, right? Safer schools, better roads, law enforcement, tax relief for hardworking families, and that's just a broad umbrella of what we're after. And I'm sure we're going to hear from our Freedom Party colleagues that we're funding gay gummy bear art,
Yeah.
right? And
I still haven't seen this gummy bear art.
me neither. And to that, I will say,
Don't search gay gummy bear art, by the way, on Google.
I think that we can support art,
Yeah.
and maybe not every artist, right? And
Yeah.
so, but they like to conflate the two, and it makes for a good highlight reel.
Yeah, and,
So-
and that's what it's about. It's highlight reel.
So-
is your person being genuine? I mean, we had a guest here tonight that Representative Beach has called numerous times trying to raise funds. That is one of my constituents, and the voicemail that's being left is talking about funding gay gummy bear art,
Yeah,
and it's just hilarious. Everything's about fundraising.
yeah, and you always buyer beware, right? When someone's talking to you about an issue and say, hey, it's 25 days till Thursday, April the 12th.
Yeah.
Can you give me $25? Yeah, you just got to beware, right? So
It's 320 days to my birthday. Donate $320 today.
So when you see newsletters like that, when you see posts like that at the very bottom, hey, can you donate some money?
Yeah.
Look, they're burying the lead, folks.
What I missed American Action Fund on
around.
Wednesday or Tuesday coming through. You know, they dropped off that stack of papers.
Yes.
I started going through it. But one of them was my uncle.
Yeah.
I know he didn't sign up for any American Action Fund. So they're just basically printing out a list of every voter in the district, trying to make you think that this is part of their mailing list. I mean, it's really ridiculous. And if I was there, I would have put some red X tape over my face like they have hanging in their office.
Yeah.
Because they have targeted me to take me down, and that's their entire purpose.
Yeah, so you know, our legislative aide is fantastic. She printed, or I guess the American Action Fund came and planted these things in our offices. I literally pulled the trash can close to the desk and.
Oh no, I kept them. I'm going through every one of them. I'm looking up the email addresses and contacting them and telling them what pieces of shit American Action Fund is.
Oh yeah. See,
how they are nothing more than the strong arm of the Freedom Caucus.
I've got medical subcommittee. I've got the ad hoc PBM.
I'm throwing it in AI.
I know Gary Brewer's got an ad hoc insurance rate committee that now he's a chair of. But you know,
I've got ad hoc envy.
Hey, we can find one for you.
I need to request to be the chairman of the ad hoc TUA committee. And we'll go for there.
On water. All right. Well, thanks for the 2 listeners for tuning in again.
Thank you for Comer Distributing.
Yep, providing the Highland Gaelic Ale beer. Good toasty malt. Tastes like a Killian's.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
I'm not one to usually order dark beers, but I like it.
Yeah, and again, thanks to Mark Murphy, the proprietor here of the Journeyman. He's doing a great job here with this establishment. And look, March Madness is right around the corner. This guy's got TVs in every nook and cranny of this place. And I think this is my neighborhood go-to.
A nice outdoor patio area.
Yeah, man. It's great.
Yeah, I mean,
come by and see him on Oakland Avenue. If you're in Rock Hill, come have a beer and check out my favorite, the Irish curry wings. If you haven't had them, try them. They're damn good. Okay? But again, thanks for 2 listeners for tuning in, and thanks for the support. Check us out on Pints of Politics Show. Check us out on all your social media platforms that you subscribe to.
Yeah. And check out Horde and Seamus on the record.
Horde and Seamus. We'll be sharing that from our channels as well.
Yes.
And y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you on next week's Midweek Sips.
Yeah, Midweek Sips. Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
Not only is it beneficial, if you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those, please invite your friends to follow the page as well.
Yeah.
Because the more we get the message out, the more people realize what's going on. Not everyone's got an hour to burn once a week, but those little clips that we're putting out is making a difference. Yeah. And people are sharing those and watching those, and it gives you a very direct message of what's going on. So please invite friends as well.
Yep. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
We got it good, got it made, don't forget what matters.